Welcome, travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Lee Wanika, and this is Tabletop Journeys, where we will be your not-so-humble guides on the quest for RPG adventures.
All right, welcome everybody to tonight's episode. Mr. Ross, pleasure to see you again. Mr. Miller, pleasure to see you again. How are you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
I'm also doing quite well. Having a good day.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. So I'm really looking forward to tonight's episode. For one, it's going to be the first one of these episodes that Michael has joined us for. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what he brings. I'm very excited to see what's in his little gift bundle.
I bring chaos.
You know, this is for a little bit of background on this. This episode type was kind of one of the first episodes that Lewanika and I ever did in the lore that is Tabletop Journeys. We started in November of 2020, and after doing what, probably like 4 episodes on backgrounds and 2 or 3 episodes on Tasha's, we did a gift guide episode. And it was like 6 hours long, and we talked about 100 things, because that's just the way we rolled at that time. Like, we had no sense of scale.
16.
However many. Like, I mean, like, after edited, it was like 6 hours. We may have recorded for 16. Okay. Yeah. That's just kind of the way we rolled back in those days before we were the tight, always on point ship that we are now. So, But yeah, we're going to be bringing you the 2024 Tabletop Journeys Holiday Gift Guide, an institution among tabletop role-playing game podcasts, if I may say so. So, real simple tonight. We all of us have kind of a collection of things that we want to go ahead and talk about. All of the links for all of these wonderful things will be in the show notes down below. So if any of these particularly tickle your fancy, go down to the show notes, click the link and go buy the thing, because or buy the thing for your favorite friend in the tabletop role-playing game space that happens to run a podcast for roughly 4 years, give or take. I mean, who knows? My address will also be in the comments. You can go ahead. No, I'm just don't do that. So, but yeah, I think without any further ado, I think we decided, Michael, you're going to go first tonight. Okay. So let me pull up the image for your first one, and then you dive right in.
So I have a few sort of a collection I want to bring. I am someone who does have a few luxury items in this hobby. I have certain like exclusive condition or additions, special covers. I have some very expensive dice that I play with, but I try when I can to be cheap, frugal, maybe. So my first is a series of things that I use regularly when I play games that are both useful and kind of inexpensive. My first are these silicone, basically they're cupcake silicone baking thingies. I got them off Amazon. They're like, right now they're like $7 for 24 of them. So like maybe 30 cents each roughly. And basically I use these when I play board games to hold all the little pieces and parts. And I know, again, you can get luxury versions of those that cost $20 and $30. That's great. These are very cheap and they work just as well. You just put out as many as you need. You can color coordinate so that either the same color component is in each cup, or you contrast them so that you can easily see them. They're stackable, they're washable, and ultimately, if one of them gets damaged, you just throw it away. So it's not really a big deal. So if you are someone who plays a lot of board games that has a lot of pieces and parts, and you don't mind being frugal, I highly recommend getting a couple sets of these. Again, they're very, very cheap. All right. Another one. This was kind of a weird one because I don't even know if it truly exists anymore, but that's the card caddy. So I've backed several of these on Kickstarter several years ago. And these are basically they're deck protectors. So you put like your Magic the Gathering cards, your Pokemon cards, whatever. But I also play a lot of deck builder games, and I am big on card sleeving. So all my decks are sleeved, and which then they're so big that they like fall over. Like you're playing Marvel Legendary or the DC deck builder, they'll just slide and they go everywhere. So this allows you to sort of hold them neatly. Again, they collapse together. But the Kickstarter, the specific brand card caddy that I have, it ended up failing. The Kickstarter, they tried to do a third one and it just didn't quite work. But you can find the STL files online pretty easily if you want to make your own. I know there's some people on Etsy that are making them. But a friend of mine actually made me an Catacon branded one with the STL file he found online.
That's hot.
But yeah, if you play any sort of card games, and I'm sure there's a million versions now, but these are so handy. I have the single deck version, the double decker. These are triple deckers. And I basically, all the board game or the card games that I play, I always take those with me. So again, because I just think they're super handy. I don't even know how much they would cost, but they're not going to be very expensive.
Yeah. I may need to pick myself up one of those because my Dragonfire cards are all over my desk right now.
Yeah, Dragonfire is absolutely one of those that if you sleeve them all and you try to make the market deck, it's just going to go and then they're going to go everywhere.
Yeah.
This solves that problem.
Yeah.
I am confident I saw something very similar to that, and it may have just been a holder. But when I was at a Catacon, one of the vendors, Kaylee, I think she had something very similar to that. And I know she had some 3D printed, and they were the tri-extruded, so they did the whole rainbow effect thing, which was amazing. Yeah. But she had a lot of like dividers for card holders, or you can put them in your card boxes that work very similarly. So I'm confident that she could probably put something like that together and really knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I think it'd be very reasonable to put like a special order together for a friend, family member, again, a podcaster that you just love, and get it branded with their logo or that kind of thing. And it still would be very reasonable, but also just super useful. Like I literally use these all the time. So I just think that's what I wanted to bring tonight, with things I actually use. And then my last one is my dice holder. And again, I know there are luxury versions and they're just utilitarian versions, but the one I use came from Walmart. It was like $4 or $5. It's basically a fishing tackle holder. And then you have all the dividers. So I've got enough room in here for my dice all divided out, pens, pencil sharpeners, my little Catacon tokens. And this is basically when I run games, this is what I take. It didn't cost me, again, I'm thinking $4 or $5. I don't remember exactly which one. And then I have a smaller one. So if I'm just going to a convention to play, I'll just throw a couple sets in here. When I'm running a game, I have all of my different sets. Nice. This thing weighs like 10 pounds because I use metal dice. So absolutely, just go to Walmart or Meijer or Sam's, like whatever your local store is, or again, Amazon probably has it. Yeah. I'm usually someone that says, buy local, but I don't know where you would buy these at a non-big box store. They are absolutely incredible. So cheap, so versatile. I've had this one for like 5 years. And again, when it eventually breaks, it'll cost me like $8 tops to replace it. So
I think the one that I use is a craft box. Actually, you can't see it because it's way over there on that bookcase way in the back of the room. But I think it's a craft box. And the same kind of thing. It's got the removable dividers, so you can make the compartments as big or as small as you need to. Blah blah blah, all that stuff. And it's got like 20 sets of dice in it. So same thing.
Yeah, I imagine you could find those either at a dollar store or value store, certainly on the fishing tackle side of things, your local hardware store or local sporting goods store. If they're not, they don't have to necessarily be big box or a big chain, but if you still got an Ace Hardware, which are typically locally owned, that you could probably find something like that there.
All mine were fairly cheap and utilitarian. And again, these are things I actually use and I find value in them. So those are my first foray was those three. All right. I'm done, my friend.
Well, I was gonna say, so I've already put up the image of the other thing you wanted to go ahead and talk about. So what am I showing up on the screen here?
Oh, what was the other one? Was it the really big one?
Is the big one? Well, it looks like a dice tower and a dice tray.
So actually, I wanted to mention this too. This is what I got for my kid. It holds like a bazillion sets of dice. Yeah, it opens on both sides. I thought that that's hot as well. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So this is my actual luxury item. I bought this for myself this year. This is from Elderwood Academy. They've been a longtime sponsor of our podcast and as well as a Catacon. And this is what's called a Codex dice tower. So you drop your dice in the top, it tumbles around, and it comes out here. But I sported or whatever, splurged for the additional dice tray that it's sold separately, but they go together, and it folds up like this. You basically unroll it, and then these parts are magnetic and they just pop on. This is hard to do backwards. Sorry. So just pretend the other side was like that too. And these basically all go together so that you have this really nice, elegant, and expensive dice tower that just looks really cool at the table, doesn't take up a lot of space, and just, it's awesome. I'm a late converter to or convert, I should say, to dice towers. I used to think they were just like silly and unneeded. Yep. They still are, but I love the sound they make when the dice tumble. That is my favorite thing. Yeah. And I will again go back to utilitarian. The one I use most often is actually attached to my homemade DM screen. It's 3 90-degree PVC elbows. It cost me like $1.50, but they have the most just beautiful sound. But I can't take that with me everywhere. So the expensive version, Elderwood Academy, big fan. This is expensive. God, it's so cool. I love it.
Brilliant, though. Okay, now I have ideas. Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
That's fabulous.
And they're like you get to, they're not fully customizable, but you get to choose like different options, like the different scroll work here, the different scroll work there. So you can mix and match the designs, the colors. And they actually did do a custom one for a Catacon. Like you can actually get some of this is fully customized. You can send them a logo. So if somebody wanted to do a TTJ logo, you could do that.
Yep. I like it.
Nice.
I like it.
Sorry.
No, hey, you're that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, if
gorgeous.
anybody wants to go ahead and make TTJ swag, and send it to us, you hit us up. We will send you that address where you can go ahead and do that. We have one, so that's totally.
# call your boys TTJ.
Please, exactly. We'll even mention you on the show. So yeah. All right. So I guess that comes to my turn, and much like Michael with his luxury dice tower, I'm also going with a touch of luxury for my first one here, but. I really, when I found this, I really just couldn't. I so desperately wanted one. It's made by heroesvillains.com. They make a variety of Varsity style letter jackets for a variety of geeky things. Nice. And the Red Dragon University letter jacket with the nice maroon body, gigantic emblazoned head. You're seeing it on screen right now. Emblazoned head of a red dragon on the back, white leather sleeves with the cuffs on the bottom. It's just super duper slick. It has nice embroidery on the breast that says Dungeons and Dragons established 1974. The 2 interlocking D's over the left breast. It's just it's such a throwback. And I'm at that point in my geekery where it's like, I want things that are a little bit unique, that are a little bit, I don't mind showing off my geeky hobbies and everything like that anymore, but I want things that have a little bit of panache to them, a little bit of something special, something you just can't find anywhere. And this really struck me as a really creative idea. Again, kind of like a throwback, kind of like a 1950s style throwback, letter jacket, but also with the D&D stuff all over it. It was really, really hot, really, really cool. Find it on heroesvillains.com. Again, not inexpensive. If we're being totally honest here, right. This is not an inexpensive thing. And if you don't want the Dungeons and Dragons one, they do have a bunch of other ones also. They have some Charles Xavier, the Xavier Institute varsity jacket. They have retro jackets. They have all sorts of stuff. They have a bunch of comic book themed ones. They have a Logan inspired bomber jacket. So the brown coarse suede with the white ruffled collar that's branded with Wolverine and Logan stuff on it. So a bunch of really cool kind of models. The Red Dragon University was the one that really kind of jumped out at me. But yeah, just a bunch of really, really cool stuff on heroesvillains.com. So
nice.
Yeah. All right, Lemonica, what do you got what's your first one tonight?
So, listeners to the On the Right Path vlog have heard me talk about skinny minis before, and one of the things that I really liked and was very useful when I flew out to Ohio for a Catacon was the ability to bring minis and be able to use them at the table. And I don't use a lot of minis for Star Trek, but when I do play other games, and now that I'm getting ready to go into 2025 and hit a whole mess of conventions and run a lot of different games, travel ability is going to be important. My youngest son, Packnell, no, just kidding. Quentin is, while he is attending one of those conventions with me, TotalCon, he's attending that one in February with me. He's not necessarily going to be at all of them any longer because he's a grown adult now and has his own things that he's doing. So I need to be able to pack in a way that makes sense. So I've started getting things that allow me to game in person more easily. And one of those things was skinny minis. And so a couple things came up. It's holiday time, and the Skinny Mini company, they happen to have a whole bunch of nice bundles. The first of those is their Ruby bundle. And I will say some of the costs in some of these bundles are a bit high overall. It is not a necessary thing. You don't have to have minis to game, but it can be very eye-catching. If you're a DM who really wants to make a splash at a convention, having some minis with you, a decent map. You don't even have to have full terrain, but a decent map and some minis makes sense. And their minis are awesome. Some of them are terrain, some of them are creatures, big, small, indifferent. Each of these bundles comes with an extra large dragon, which is exceptionally cool. There's boatloads of minis, like so many I couldn't even tell you. The amount of stuff you're getting for that Ruby bundle at $149 is insane. I think the cost per mini is fairly low, and not out of line with buying any single mini, and probably much better than that. But you're not just getting the minis. These bundles come with a slew of minis of varying sizes, varying types. They list what all of them are. They come with 4 maps or a bunch of maps. I think the image is going to show you how many maps are involved. They come with adventures, like one-shot adventures that go with them. And it's just absolutely brilliant. Some of them are amazing. There's a train one, and as a person who loves Eberron and wants to run Eberron, you can rest assured if it's not gifted to me by the time December 25th comes around, and actually I have to wait till January 4th because that's my birthday, but if I don't have it in my hands by January 4th, I can rest assured that I'm pressing the button at about 6 o'clock in the evening on January 4th to make sure it's en route, that train one, because it is that good.
I want to jump in here. Next year, if you run an Eberron game, I actually will break my own rule at a Catacon about not playing, because Eberron is by far away my favorite D&D setting, and I never get to play.
I will then consider it broken. I got you.
Yep.
I actually ran that last time though. 2023. I ran Eberron.
Someone either I didn't know or I was in a fugue state because of that. But I mean, if someone says Eberron around me, it's like, what? What? Hello? Yeah.
That's how I am about it too. Like yeah. So there's that bundle. Real quick to let you know, there's the Emerald bundle. It's a little bit smaller. It's got different adventures, different maps. It's not like they add on to each one. There are actually different types of minis in each of these. The dragon you get goes with Emerald, so you're getting a green dragon with this one versus the red dragon with the ruby. And that bundle is $119.85. And then we have the Sapphire bundle, which has some very cool stuff in it, which is $99.95. So if it's the big Christmas present you're getting the gamer in your life, probably not the worst. It's probably in keeping with other types of gifts of this is your core gift for the holiday kind of gift. But you're not buying all 3 bundles if generally. I wouldn't. That might be excessive, right? So, but I think that would work. I also wanted to leave with this as far as skinny minis go. As a person who loves to GM, loves different things to inspire me, and I have found a lot of inspiration. I subscribed to the GM's Toolkit each month for what ends up being about $19.95 monthly. There is a bit of a larger startup cost on it, but for about $19.99 or so monthly, I get a stack of minis that goes with a single adventure. It's a full adventure, not just like a one page. It's got a little booklet with an adventure, stats for the things that are in there, the minis that go along with all of that. They are themed, and you get that for like 19. So you're getting an adventure a month. You're getting all the minis to go with it, and it's awesome. And there are frequently deals for people who subscribe, so you can get cheaper other stuff because you're a subscriber. And I am finding that to be really good. Like I'm getting ready to do a massive goblin invasion adventure at conventions. I have been making sure I buy a lot of skinny mini goblins so I can really just litter the field with goblins. It's a really cool thing. And subscribers get to vote on the options. They put a bunch of options. The one that wins the vote is the next monthly box. So you get a little bit of say as to the direction in which things are going. And generally speaking, you can still buy the other one if like your favorite came in second or something. You can usually just buy that.
Yeah, again, I'm someone primarily a theater of the mind DM. I very rarely use minis these days, but when I first started running with my kids, they were like around 5 or 6, I think, when we started playing the first games, and like 7, 8 when we went to D&D. I used the flat plastic minis because they really like to see them. And so I still, when I play with my kids, we use minis. I don't basically any other time, but being able to like say, this is what you're seeing, or this is what you're fighting, really had an impact on them. More so than, again, like adults. I mean, again, most adults play with, they played for years. They know what the giant rat looks like, or they know what the beholder looks like, or the non-IP version. But being able to like hold up and go, this is what you're fighting, actually is a very cool thing to have, particularly if you have kids.
Yeah, and very useful if you're doing learn to play games. Anybody who's been to the game sessions I run, I always run learn to play. I want people to be able to come to a convention. There are not a catacon, but there are many conventions where you go there and there are just not enough learn to play. There are people who are walking in there because they are the friend of somebody who's there to do a thing and wants to go play Adventure League. And then you got somebody who's kind of moseying around because they're afraid to get in the game. So for game masters, if you can advertise, hey, this is learn to play, and then you can have something like Skinny Minis out there to make that uncanny divide easier, you're winning. You're making it legendary.
Yep, I love it.
Nice.
I love it. I am also a big proponent of Skinny Minis. One question for the Lunatic, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I know that their adventures used to come in both 5th edition style and Pathfinder 2. Are they still publishing the adventures in both sides, or?
So I'd have to go back and look at some of the ones that I've gotten in over the last couple of months. I can't confirm the Pathfinder 2, but I can definitely confirm that 5th edition is present.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't in the same book. You had to pick one or the other. Basically, when you bought it, you said, well, do you want your adventures in this flavor or another flavor? And so I wasn't sure.
I don't recall being asked to make that choice, and everything I've gotten, I know is done for 5th edition thus far. So that may have been a change.
Yeah.
But with so many 5th edition variants out there, Tales of the Valiant, Level Up, Advanced Level Up, whatever, as well as 2024, I think it should be pretty easy to just kind of go with that. There's a lot of options there.
Cool. All right, sir. All right, Michael, I guess this comes back to you then. The second one, let's see, the second one that you got, this is the card cat. You already talked about the card caddy. So what was the other one that you wanted to go ahead?
Yeah, I think, I was confused about the order, and I'm just not a smart person in general. So I think the other one that I kind of talked about was this big honking thing, which is, again, also got on Amazon. This is called the Kislane dice storage case for D&D. Like on Amazon right now, it's $25, and it's basically a jumbo of the thing that I already showed you. And essentially, it opens. So, like, I think I have it upside down. So this side opens, and then the bottom opens. So it's basically like 2 of them that are kind of put together. And my son is a dice goblin. Like, that's what he wants for Christmas every year. He's like, what do you want? I want dice. So he just has a metric crap ton of dice in here, but it holds all of them. It has a little sturdy carrying case, so he actually carries it with him. It's about 40 pounds. It's not portable, but it is portable. Yeah. But if you have a dice goblin or someone who's moving that way, this is absolutely a cool and sort of utilitarian thing. Again, it's not that it's $25. There's more dice. Like, there's probably like $400 worth of dice in there, even those cheapies. Yeah. But it's a very handy thing. He runs games. He loves to show off his dice. So he's always like, which set will I use this time? And so it was absolutely a favorite gift of his. Yeah. Also with the dice that we've now been adding to it.
I may need to look into something like that, because my dice goblin tendencies are fairly legendary, because I'm a firm believer that when I start a new game, those players get a new set of dice from me as like a gift from DM to player for playing in that game with me. So like when I went to a catacon last year, when STA, all the players at my table got new dice. Everybody at my current game got new dice. And it's because I also have for giveaways that we've done, I think Lunatic, I probably sent you 25 sets of dice in the last year, whatever. At least. Because I collect them. They find their way to me. They're like puppies. I don't know what happens. They just show up. I have routinely on Blue Sky and formerly on X, sent out the question like, hey, I will send you something if you can accurately guess how many dice I have within 10 feet of my desk. And nobody has ever gotten close. So listeners out there, you go ahead, throw your number out there, and you like a reasonable number. Like if someone says 7,000, like obviously it's not 7,000 dice. However, I have 14, more dice.
3,486.
Significant. I have a significant number of dice within the area of my, so I might need some way to go ahead and structure a little bit. That could be handy.
And then a couple just quick honorable mentions. I don't think you have pictures for this, but I also have some of these like dice cases. Again, these are also off Amazon. They're called plastic Uno case holders. They come in like, I think 10 or 12. And if you have a lot of card games like I do that you play a lot of and the boxes get destroyed. So again, specifically like Uno, the Mine, Tanabe, this is my copy of
Flux,
Gloom.
our poor Flux boxes are destroyed.
Yes, Flux is another one. Basically, there's different sizes. This is a larger size, but I have some that are a little bit skinnier, depending on what size game you want in there. But it's big enough to hold the rule book and the cards. Again, these are sleeved cards. So if you sleeve them, and it's a way to keep them nice and orderly and kind of neat on the shelves, but it's also a little bit easier they're sturdier, they're not going to get damaged, or when they get damaged, you can toss them over your shoulders. That's another thing that I buy a lot of. And the last thing, I love the cards that came with like D&D 5th edition or in 2014, I think Gale Force 9 originally. So like the monster cards, the magic item cards, and the spell cards. I do not run D&D without those. Because again, I don't really run online, so I don't have access to D&D and beyond. But if I run a game at a convention, if I go to a convention, I have my spell cards with me. And I know 5th edition just came out, the new 2024 edition. The moment those are available, I will be buying all of them. So they're not out yet, but I'm anticipating that as soon as the monster manual hits in February, I assume there will be a version of those available. Those will be in my cart instantly.
My monster cards are literally on my desk, but I can see them. They're actually on the same shelf as my skinny minis directly to my left. So totally agree.
When I got into 5e very late in the game, like 2018 is when I started playing 5e. I needed to learn. I've talked about how I learned via Adventures League. One of the first things I did to keep track of things is I got the cards. And my son played with me. So if he was playing a character, I bought the card set that went for him. I bought the card set for me. We played enough characters and the purpose was so that we would buy all the cards, but also so that we played everything so I could learn the game. And it was so much easier to learn the game because I bought the official WotC character sleeves, which had the spots for the cards. So I had my character sheet front and back in the right sleeves, and then I had their spell cards right there. And when I changed what spells I had, I would just swap out the cards. So I literally sat down. I just needed that book, and I could flip to whatever I needed. All the immediate rules I needed were right there. And learning the game that easily was amazing. In a perfect world, I would set up a sleeve like that for each player or character at a learn to play game. So I could hand them their pre-gen with, and then say, here's your stack of cards, slide in the ones that you select. And then we'll go from there. That would be if I had unlimited resources as a GM, that's the very first thing I would do.
I would also go ahead.
I was going to say, I would also add that if they are not going to produce a set anytime soon, because we don't have a starter set till next September, there are any number of card forms, PDFs that you can get, and you can either type in because they're form fillable, or you can superimpose an image on them and print them for personal use until an official thing comes out. And I'm not saying that to not buy official things. I am saying if it helps you learn the game, there are ways to do that. You can craft your own method, even if it's handwriting it on a card and cutting it yourself and putting it in a sleeve and using any of the solutions that you've talked about, Michael. I think learning the game, if you're enjoying it and you want to be able to pick it up easier, faster, better, or more, or help somebody do that, there are solutions.
Just as an example, I'm running the Marvel 616 RPG currently, and I found somebody on Reddit who made all the power cards as PDFs. I printed them at home. I cut them out. I will buy them the moment they're available. They're not yet, but the moment they are available, I will absolutely buy them. I don't think I could run that game without those cards right now. It's again, I do enjoy that game, but it's really difficult to play the characters like as the bad guys, because the character sheets don't tell you what they do. They just tell you the powers. So you have to flip back and forth, but most of the bad guys have like 7 or 8. So if I didn't have access to those cards, I don't think I could run that game. So that's another version of, I made them for personal use. or found them for personal use, but I will absolutely pay for them when they are readily available.
Star Trek Adventures has that. If for those who play that game or part of the Star Trek Adventures community, going to continuing missions, there are any number of people. Some of the freelance writers, actually the lead writer on the Klingon Federation book, he made a bunch of cards that work really well for the book that he led, specifically for that purpose. So I have downloaded those. I have those that I use, and I have great plans for all of that. There are just ways to do that that make sense, like talent cards, things like that. So when I go to games, I can say, your character has this talent, your character has that talent. So it's not the little writing on the character sheet. There's something tangible so they can see it, feel it, touch it.
This is the gaming equivalent of like making someone a picture frame. Like if you don't want to just go out and buy something, you can like make something from the heart, download these cards, print them at home, cut them out, sleeve them, and it's almost like you made them a gift.
I love it. Yeah. So speaking of sort of making a gift, go with me here on this one. So I am a huge fan of my former academic life, right? Like I love being in college, I love studying and everything like that. And so when I find things that are a little esoteric and super nerdy, and that I think are really going to inform what I do at the table, I try to go ahead and snatch them up. And so this is fairly old. I didn't realize it had been on the market for this long, and I would go and get my copy over in the bookcase over there, but I didn't think to do that ahead of time. But Taskin, the book publisher, about a year ago put out a 500-page book called Masterpieces of Fantasy Art. That is it is fantasy art dating back to 1923. There's not a lot of words in this book, which is good because I think it's originally in German, so you got to be careful about which one you buy. But it's basically as you flip through it, it's basically like 2-page like centerfold style and also like single page style of fantasy art throughout every genre imaginable. I mean, it's got artists like H.R. Geiger, Jeffrey Catherine Jones, Frazetta, Hildebrand, Michael Whelan, Philip Gillette. So like all like classic like 1960s, 1970s fantasy artists. But again, it goes back to like 1923 is like in the oldest stuff in there. So it's got like old like 1960s Lord of the Rings stuff, like you name it. It's got a ton of stuff, and it's just fantastic for inspiration. Like if I'm looking to go ahead and sit down and run a session at my game, and I'm like, I'm not totally sure what to do, I will go and grab that book and just like open to a random page. You'd be like, 3 people dragging a cart through a swamp. Got it. I know exactly what I can go ahead and do with that. This is perfect. Two people riding a lizard in front of a moon. I can do that. I'm good. Like I got this. Like I know where I can go with that. So as like one of those like tomes of inspiration sorts of things, it's fantastic. It is on it's on my bookshelf, but it probably shouldn't be because I use it so often I have to go over and get it. You know what I mean? It's one of those. So fantastic. You can find it you can find it lots of places. It's on Amazon right now. Obviously, everything on Amazon is on huge sale because we're recording this 2 days before Thanksgiving. So it's like everything on Amazon's on massive sale right now. But Masterpieces of Fantasy Art. It's by Taskin, published by Taskin America. 506 pages. Just be sure you don't buy the German one in case you speak German. But that's
unless you speak German.
Unless you speak German, or
maybe you want to. Maybe it would be like aspirational. I bought it, so now I must learn German.
Maybe all those words will just get in the way. I mean, who knows? Like but yeah, it's fantastic.
That and a little Rosetta Stone would be amazing.
Original paintings, sketches, pictures of sculpture, images from calendars, magazines, paperback books. Like it's got everything in it, and it's organized really, really neatly. But again, I use it kind of like a random, turn a page and see what I want to go ahead and do kind of thing. So I love it.
I love books like that can also serve as kind of coffee table books. Anybody that knew me back in my college days, I used to randomly throw out my Robotech art books 1, 2, and 3 on my coffee table when I was a single man. Once I had kids, I stopped doing that.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Maybe when you have your Robotech books out on your coffee table, you remain single for a little bit longer. I think
a joke. Can't say
that may in fact be the possibility. But
it could be like a bear trap for the perfect partner. The one who's like, oh, that's cool, is a keeper.
Yeah.
Trapper Keeper.
Or if they start
Trapper
arguing with you about who was better for Rick Hunter, or Lin May or Lisa Hayes, then well, okay, now even if you disagree, at least we can sit down and have a coffee, right? But I digress. We're talking holiday gifts. I love the idea of inspiration. I think that should never be discounted. And if I look back at our 4 years of doing this, I don't know if we've had an item like that in our holiday gift guides before.
Nope.
And I think we should really make a point to try to keep that in our mind going forward, because as creators who are writing things not just for our game tables but also for publication, inspiration is everything. You don't want to necessarily steal. You definitely don't want to steal, but you're always looking for what inspires me. I've talked about sometimes I was in a mall and I saw a thing and I thought, wow, what a great place for a chase scene. Or I'm in nature and I see this thing. Sometimes, whether it be listening to music or seeing great artwork, that's the catalyst. That's the inspiration. So never discount what inspires you to make the next thing. GMs are gonna, at some point, their players are gonna go off the rails and they're gonna be stuck for what to do next.
Yep.
If you had something that you were looking at the night before, one of those things is going to come in your mind. And that moment that you used to get stuck in is the moment where you will shine. And I guarantee your players will remember that more than anything you had previously written on the page.
I mean, so both of you guys are Eberron fans. In my tabletop game, there will be a level which is run in Eberron for reasons, and I will tell you that when I flipped over in this book to the H.R. Geiger image of the best way I can describe it as is a mechanical Medusa. I was like, oh yeah, I know what I can do with that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A Warforged Medusa?
A Warforged Medusa?
A Warforged Gorgon.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So
excuse me, folks. I just need to jot down.
Yep. He just can't stand up.
All right.
Speaking of which, Leonica, it's your turn.
All right.
What do you got?
So I am going to do the one thing that I do almost every year when we're doing our holiday gift guide, and that's cheat. I cheat. This is where I do the thing that is not the actual thing I was supposed to do. So when asked for my second great idea, I did come up with a second idea, but I didn't feel that just doing I'll just get into it. The second great idea is buy the core rules. Every person who's listening to this episode is either the gamer themselves and they're wondering what to get for themselves or what to get for another gamer, or maybe they are a player wondering what to get their GM, or a GM wondering what to get one of their players, or maybe you're the loved one of the gamer. Maybe you don't game, so you're wondering what you can do to kind of give them that one gift that's better or different than a simple gift card. So this one does require a little bit of homework. So if you need to have somebody else ask the questions for you, here are the questions. What game are you playing? What core rules do you have? What core rules are you missing? Because what I'm suggesting is the core rule sets. And I've got 3 specific sets that I'm going to talk about, but essentially the idea is just get them the core rules. There's so many new games out this year alone, from summer to now, that those core books are a lot, and they make great gifts, and they are the kind of gifts that the GM or the player in your life will keep coming back to. And so I would say the question is, do you have the physical and do you just need the PDF? Do you have the PDF and just need the physical? Do you have both of those, but you're using a VTT and you need to get the rules on that VTT to make the games run easier? That one's a little more GM specific. But once you know which one they need, you should get them. Only one of the companies I'm going to talk about has what I consider to be the best setup in the world, which is, as if you buy the book and you have the receipt, they will send you the PDF. Done. That's Modifius Entertainment. They do that with all of their games, not just Star Trek Adventures 2E, but this rule would apply. So if they have the physicals, you can just let them know. Get your receipt, send it to them. They'll get you the PDFs. But if you want to buy it for Foundry so they have the rules in Foundry, go ahead and use it. our Patreon game, we were using Foundry this weekend, and it was really brilliant. It really helped things move along. So definitely ways to do that. Now, that's just Star Trek Adventures 2E, right? They have their core rule book, they have their GM toolkit, they have pre-orders on their starter box, which should be shipping early 2025, but they're pre-ordering now, so you can be one of the first ones to have that little box that hot in your hands. Between the core rules, the GM toolkit, and the quick start guide, which was free, and that starter box, you've got like 3 adventures and everything you need to play this game. Like everything. It's brilliant. So look at that, something like that. I also would say Tales of the Valiant. Their player's guide is a core rule book. They also have their Monster Vault. Their GM's Game Master's Guide is also out. So that's there. Those are the 3 core books, really. You've got your players, you got your Monster Vault, and the GM's Guide. Now, the core rules is all you need to run the game, by the way. The GM's tool guide is extra stuff to enhance how the GM runs. So if you're buying something for a GM, they don't have to have that book to do it, but there's really good stuff in it. I heard somebody, I believe it was Sly Flourish, who said he was very pleased with 2024 DMG because it was great for newcomers. He says that's not necessarily the same for the Game Master's Guide, but that's also not its job. Those early rules are in the core book. The advanced rules are in the DM's Guide. So something to keep in mind. And again, PDF, VTT, physical, which one do they have? Which one do they need? We all game in multiple ways. Having all of that would be good. Even if you don't game virtually, having that PDF available so that you can read when you're on the train, read when you're traveling, read when you're in bed and you don't want to grab the big heavy book off the shelf. These are great things. Or put it on your e-reader so you're listening to it while you're kind of relaxing. These are great, great ideas. And then finally, D&D 2024. It is the new hotness. It is the core game. This is, as Josh said earlier, established in 1974, right? This is the game that brought us all to the dance. I would be remiss if I didn't put them up here on this list in some fashion, and I'm not going to be remiss any longer. Their player's book, their DMG eventually, and it won't be for this holiday season, but their monster manual are definitely worthwhile to have if you're playing this game, if you're going places. So knowing which avenue they have it, because they are very siloed, you buy the physical, you buy the D&D Beyond. They don't do PDFs, or you get the rules on individual VTTs. Knowing what the gamer in your life has, help them out. Get the other one that they might need.
I like it.
The only thing I would just add to that is if you're not sure, there are also starter sets. There are so many games out there that have a starter set now. It's neighborhood $20-$30. It's not the core rules, but it has like enough rules to try the game. It usually comes with a set of dice, might have like the like a adventure for them to play through. So if you have someone like maybe like a young person in your life, 13, 14 years old, thinking about getting into this hobby, but they love Avatar, the animated show. There's an Avatar RPG starter set, Dragonbane starter set. There's actually D&D starter sets, though it's for the 2014. I'm a big fan. I love starter sets. So there's probably an IP that you like that maybe your partner, loved one, friend, whatever family member would be interested in. There's probably a starter set for it somewhere. Star Trek, I think the 1E has a starter set. I don't know if 2E does yet.
Yeah, that they actually just started pre-orders for the 2E starter set last Friday, I think. Okay. So that is now. I pre-ordered it over the weekend. So
the Marvel 616 game it's actually supposed to have been out. It's running late on production, but there's a starter set for that. So if you have someone who likes superhero games, there's a starter sets for that as well. So big fan.
Nice. Cool. So I am going to cheat also, much like my friend Lewanika, because I've got one that I want to go ahead and toss out there too, kind of an honorable mention. I was surprised that we didn't do honorable mention tonight, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up there. So I saw this and I'm sure people like looking at the image on the video right now are like, what the heck is the thing that he just put up there? So it's put out by Uncanny Brands, and it is a Dungeons and Dragons themed Halo toaster. So when you put your bread in the toaster, the element in such a way makes an image of a D20 on the piece of bread, and it is D20 shaped. Also, it's D&D branded. It looks like a D20. You put your bread in the top. I saw this thing and I was like, okay, it's just goofy enough to be cool. You know, like there's definitely that line between goofy and cool sometimes. This is just goofy enough to still be cool. And I thought it was super duper neat. Uncanny Brands is where it's come from. Obviously on Super Sale, you can find it all over the place right now. But it's their Dungeons and Dragons Halo toaster, toasts D&D logo on your bread. It's the coolest thing. So.
I often play characters that take cooking as one of my skills, whether it's a flavor option or an actual skill in the game, because I love to be the person at the campfire who's like making meals. So this is like roll for breakfast.
Yeah.
Crit.
Yep. I love it.
Yep. I can definitely say the first player that brings me D&D toasted toast at one of my sessions, guaranteed to have inspiration and a free nat 20 whenever they one time in the session, whenever they want. You bring, and if you throw some cinnamon apple butter honey on that, you might get two.
D20s for
I'm
life.
just saying.
So I already had like 9 things, but my honorable mention will be take a loved one to a convention.
Like a catacon.
Like a catacon if you happen to be local, but you know, Gen Con obviously is the biggest in North America, but there are tons of local small gaming conventions like a catacon that are not overwhelming. They're not prohibitively expensive, but if you have a gamer in your life, going to a convention is kind of a magical thing. So I highly encourage that.
Yep.
If I were to say have a honorable mention myself, I would take this moment to say like, subscribe, choose the channel. Your humble hosts would love a holiday present. This or not so humble host, as it were, would love a holiday gift. We are definitely making a push to get to 500 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and as of last week, we just started showing video on Spotify. So we would love to increase our subscribers on Spotify. So now you can take us kind of wherever you're going. So, you know, definitely subscribe. Spotify has ways to send comments, rate our show, all of those good things, which you can also do on YouTube. So let us know what you like. If you like this holiday list, if you think we left something off the holiday list that's a must-have, please let us know. We'd be happy to continue the conversation. The list that we have presented tonight isn't the end-all, be-all. This is the start, a small sample. This is an inkling. This is the start of the journey, if you will. The comments below, that's where you, the listeners, you, the viewers, get to carry it on and keep this journey going.
Heck, I'm going to go ahead and take that a step further. If you are a creator and make things like the stuff we just talked about, we want to know because we might buy your stuff. So please let us know down below. So, all right. That's our gift guide for 2024. Like I said, check the notes down below. You'll see all the links to all the things that we talked about here. Until then, I guess that's our show for tonight. We'll be back next week talking about the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. We're going to be doing that a little bit differently. There's going to be a bunch of kind of smaller videos kind of coming out over the next few weeks, not necessarily just on Friday. So be checking YouTube and Spotify for that. So until then, Mr. Ross, Mr. Miller, good afternoon, good evening as always. And we'll talk to y'all again next time.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night.